Night beckons.
Welcome to our village.
What is it now?
Yes, my lord. What do you want?
Greetings, my lord.
I must hunt soon. Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. I must hunt soon. What, mortal? Greetings. Agreed. That was my plan. What is it now? You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. I must hunt soon. Very well. You thought of that? Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. That was my plan.
First blood.
You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. That was my plan. Die. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. Agreed. You thought of that? Very well. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. I hunger.
Our allies' town
Agreed.
needs help.
Die. You thought of that? Very well. You thought of that? Very well. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. You thought
Our
of
allies'
that?
town needs help.
Agreed. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. Death rages.
Our
That was my
allies' town
plan.
needs help.
You thought of that?
Insufficient mana.
I hunger. Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. That was my plan.
Our allies' town needs help.
Very well. Death rages. That was my plan. You thought of that? Die. That was my plan. Very well.
Our
That was my
allies'
plan.
town needs help.
Very well. I hunger. That was my plan. Your soul is mine. Very well. You thought of that? Death rages. That was my plan.
Our allies' town needs
hunger.
help.
You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed.
Our allies' town needs help.
You thought of that? Die. That was my plan. Very well. Agreed. What is it now? I Must hunt soon. Very well. What, mortal? That was my plan.
More gold is required.
Greetings. I hunger. You thought of that. Very well. You thought of that. Die. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. Death rages. That was my plan. You thought of that. Die. Agreed. You thought of that. Agreed. That was my plan. What is it now? Agreed. I must hunt soon. You thought of that. That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. Agreed. That was my plan. Die. Agreed. You thought of that. Agreed. Death rages. Very well. Agreed. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Die. That was my plan. Agreed. I hunger. Die. That was my plan.
Our allies' town needs help.
Death rages. Die. Agreed. You thought of that. That was my plan. You thought of that. Agreed. I hunger. That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Die. You thought of that. Death rages. That was my plan. Very well. I hunger. You thought of that. That was my plan. Death rages. You thought of that. I hunger. Death rages. Agreed. Very well. Greetings. What, mortal? You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? What is it now? Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? Agreed.
Our warriors have engaged
That was
in
my plan. Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. Greetings. You thought of that? What, mortal? Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. I hunger. You thought of double kill. That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. What is it now? What, mortal? Very well. That was my plan. Must hunt soon. You thought of that? Greetings. Must hunt soon. Greetings. That was my plan. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Agreed. I must hunt soon. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. Death rages. You thought of that? Fresh meat.
Our allies' town
That was
needs
my
help.
plan. Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. That was my plan.
Our allies'
Nice.
town needs help.
Greetings. Fresh meat. Killing spree. Very well. That was my plan. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? I hunger. Very well. Die. That was my plan. Death rages. Die. You thought of that? I hunger.
Our allies' town
Agreed.
needs help.
You thought of that? Very well. Death rages. Agreed. Die. Very well. You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. That was my plan. Greetings. Very well. That was my plan. I must hunt soon. What is it now? What mortal? Agreed. I hunger. Very well. Agreed. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. That was my plan. Your soul is mine. Very well. You thought of that? Die. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. Greetings. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. What is it now? You thought of that? What, mortal? Agreed. Very well.
Our allies' town needs help.
Fresh meat. I hunger. Double kill. Very well. Rages. Agreed.
Hello.
Greetings. Must hunt soon. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. I hunger. You thought of that? Your soul is mine. Very well. That was my plan.
Insufficient mana.
You thought
Insufficient
of that?
mana.
Very well. I must hunt soon. That was my plan. Very well. Agreed. Death rages. That was my plan. You thought of that? Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. What, mortal? Agreed. Greetings. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. Very well. What, mortal? What is it now? That was my plan. You thought of that?
Our allies' town needs help.
Die. That was my plan. Death rages. Die. You thought of that? I must hunt soon. Agreed. What is it now? You thought of that? Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. Greetings. Your soul is mine. Very well. You thought of that? Fresh meat. I hunger. You thought of that? Your soul is mine. Very killing spree. Double kill. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. This hunt soon. Death rages. You thought of that? That was my plan. What is it? What? I hunger. That was my plan. You thought of that? Die. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. Killing spree. Double kill. You thought of that? Very well. Greetings.
Forward.
What, mortal? I must hunt soon. That was my plan.
Welcome to our village.
Very well. That was my plan.
Our allies' town needs help.
That was my plan. What, mortal? Rages. I hunger. Rages. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. I hunger. Double kill. Very well. Fresh meat. Agreed. Killing spree. That was my plan. I must hunt soon. Greetings. Very well. You thought of that? Very well. Dominating. Very well. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. I must hunt soon. Your soul is mine. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? Mega kill. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. I hunger. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. What mortal? That was my plan. Very well. Greetings. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed.
Fresh meat.
Very well. You thought of that? You thought of that? Very well. I hunger.
Lever detected.
That was my plan. You thought of that? I must first. That was my plan. Death rages. Leave. I hunger. That was my plan. Leave. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan.